I actually feel uncomfortable around too many white people. I find I'm bonding closer with the natives, the Alaska natives.
Really?
Yeah.
So, do you have a penchant for Native women who are homeless in crisis?
It's been called the memory card murder. A brutal homicide found on a stolen cell phone. The victim dying on a hotel room floor. The killer mocking her in a distinctive accent.
Camera bitch.
There's at one point blood coming from both sides of her mouth while the killer is sexually molesting her.
He wasn't sexually molesting her, he was poking his fingers on her boob, okay?
Is that not sexual molestation in your mind?
It depends on the woman.
I've always suspected that some people aren't at all who they appear to be. To his wife, Brian Stephen Smith was a loving husband. To the Marriott hotel staff, he was a good colleague. To his mistress, he was a spinner of dark sexual fantasies. But to Kathleen Henry, an Alaska native living on the streets of Anchorage, Brian Stephen Smith was a stranger who offered a warm bed and then did something monstrous.
Good evening. We're learning more tonight about the weeks surrounding the hotel killing of 30-year-old Kathleen Henry.
39 photos and 12 videos show in graphic detail the final hours of a dark-haired woman. The SD card where the files were stored was labeled Homicide at Midtown Marriott.
She was like all beat up. I mean, her face was not even recognizable.
Hello.
Brian Stephen Smith was found guilty in February 2024 of murder, sexual assault, and misconduct involving a corpse.
How are we doing, guys?
We're set.
We're good? Okay.
And now, for the first time, he has agreed to tell me his story and to answer for these crimes.
Well, Brian, we're here because we really want to understand the mindset and motivations behind your actions in this case, okay? Tell me, why are you here today talking to us?
Because you asked me to.
You could have said no, but you agreed. Why?
Yes, yeah. Well, I have my side of the story as well that I'd like to get out.
You want to be heard.
Yes, I have to get something out on my side at least.
Smith's side starts when he met a woman who lived very far away from his native South Africa.
You had found love late in life with an older woman, right? Stephanie. Tell me about her.
Yeah, so we actually met playing a game on internet, and we became friends, and we started talking outside of the game.
Mama, he's crazy, crazy over me.
The folk singer from Anchorage fell hard and fast for Smith, just as his life hit rock bottom.
In South Africa, things actually got to a bit of a bad point. I'd gone into a business deal that just went sour, and I lost a lot of money. And it's almost like everything just made sense, you know, just pack up and leave. You got nothing to lose here anymore.
Take me back to the first time you stepped foot in this rather stunning land. What did you feel? What did you think?
Well, it was amazing. It's the first time I've been out of South Africa.
He's eating your plants.
With camera in hand, Smith took to the Alaskan wilds and began shooting videos.
This is the beaver dam. I don't know if this GoPro can pick it up, but there's a little beaver house over there.
It's very similar to Africa. You've got the civilized, and then you've got the whole ethnic, rural, indigenous side of things. People that are living in an absolute, totally different world to what we live in.
Are there many South Africans in the Anchorage area?
I think there's 2 or 3 or 4. There might be more, but
Maybe a handful.
yeah.
It also seems like a good place for a secret life, if that's what you're looking for. Nobody knows you. There's lots of space. One could lose themselves in kind of withdraw from the world here if one wanted to.
Yes, you could. You're correct. You can go get yourself a little cabin and you never have to deal with humans again.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether Smith was looking for a second life or a secret one in Alaska, he struggled to fit into Stephanie's world.
Are you still married?
I signed the divorce papers about 2 months ago. Stephanie's a very social person, and she's got groups of friends that are in theater and music. At first I thought, yes, I could do it, but then it was just too much for me. They were all trying to be nice.
Right.
But that did cause a bit of problem with us. Yeah.
Well, but let's be frank, right? She was an older woman. You were still quite young, and you had a roving eye, and soon an affair, right, with someone who shared a certain lust for sexual adventure. Is that fair, Alicia?
Enter Alicia Youngblood, a young woman Smith met at work. Smith told police they started off as drinking buddies. Then things progressed.
This crazy sex thing, it was just something that was happening, and I delved into it. It was interesting for me that I had someone that I could do something and they would respond to it.
Right.
Actually, I think that's what the main thing is. She was responsive to it.
You say there was a bit of rough stuff, right? She liked to be slapped around a little, choked, suffocated.
Yes,
Right.
but it wasn't every time. She liked to see and hear stories about violence. That turned her on. That's what got the engine going.
And this is all illicit, which probably made it even more exciting, right? Because you were married.
Well, yes. The secrecy side of it, yes.
Yeah. Soon, it sounds like the two of you were trying to outdo each other and coming up with mock sexual and violent role play scenarios, right?
Yes. She would tell me about her criminal history. I knew they were not true stories. She would tell me that she'd been chased across America by the FBI, and she was part of a gang that used to rob banks. That's not real though. But that's where the whole murder thing started coming in. So,
And you played along.
So one day I said to her, well, I've also killed somebody, so I've also got a story, and it turned her on massively. It worked. She loved me making up stories like that. If any woman goes to any man and says, say this or do this, and I'll get horny, that guy's gonna do it.
By day, Smith says, he and his wife kept up a loving, if passionless, marriage.
It sounds like you did sort of slip into a kind of a double life. The Brian who's the dutiful husband on the straight and narrow, and then on the other hand, a reckless kind of alter ego, right? The one who would drive into the night looking for cheap sex.
By night, Smith would troll the streets of Anchorage in his black pickup truck.
I did go out, but it wasn't for going out for sex. Basically, I was having a very stressful life, and I would drink a glass of whiskey just before bedtime. Then that would be midnight. And if that didn't knock me out, sometimes it would give me that, you get your second breath now.
Get a little energy
and
from it.
then I'd say, oh, now I need to go driving.
It was probably about 9:30 at night.
Okay.
And he pulls up, and I was homeless, living in a tent, and it was raining that night. Then he goes, well, it's raining. Do you want to ride around with me? And, and I was like, sure.
Valerie Kassler was on the street one night when Smith drove by. He told her he was looking for a certain young working girl and asked her to help.
You know the streets,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you're a pretty good judge of character. What was your first impression?
He was nice. We went everywhere. We hung out out at the airport and watched the planes and stuff. I was with him till about 5, 6 in the morning.
All night long?
Yeah.
When Smith stopped at a gas station to use the ATM, Kassler found herself alone in his car.
That's when I dropped my phone.
In the car?
In his truck, yeah.
You were in the front passenger seat?
Yeah. And when I reached down, I grabbed 2 phones. And you get that chill feeling,
You just got a vibe from it?
Yeah.
A feeling?
Yeah, that something was not right.
With Smith still inside, Kassler pocketed his cell phone, a decision on which the entire case would hinge.
I went back to my tent and I turned it on, looked to see if I recognize any phone numbers or if I recognize anybody on the pictures, and that's when I found it.
You need your garbage.
That's a sick mother.
In the fall of 2019, in a tent in the woods around Anchorage, Alaska, Valerie Kassler took out a phone she had stolen from Brian Stephen Smith's car and pressed play.
You need your garbage.
What did you see at first?
Him talking and his voice and her body laying on the floor of the hotel.
She was alive, though, at that point.
Yeah, and he stepped on her throat and he said, you're not leaving here alive. I'm killing you.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Are you still alive?
I watched all of it, and he pulled out a wire, put it around her neck, and she was dead, and he was still doing things to her.
For days, Kassler refused to leave her tent.
You stayed in the woods because you were
I was paranoid as hell.
You were scared?
Yeah.
But she worked up the courage to turn the videos over to the police.
It was the hardest thing I've ever had to watch in my life, not just being as a police officer. This was the worst thing I've ever seen happen to a human being.
Detective Brendan Lee had a colleague who overheard the videos and the distinctive voice.
He recalled a case that he had worked that involved a male with an accent. And he gave me the name Brian Stephen Smith.
Lee checked the Marriott guest list from the night of the videos, and sure enough,
to see his name on there, it was kind of like like you said, like a big aha moment, like, okay, now we know who we're looking at.
Then, just days after police got the video,
human remains found at mile 108 of the Seward Highway a week ago belonged to a woman who had long dark hair.
with a prime suspect and a body to match, the race was on to gather evidence.
The FBI told us, hey, his phone is hitting off a tower near mile 108, the Seward Highway. And also, there was a timestamp on one of the images with Kathleen Joe Henry in the back of the pickup truck. And that was also like an aha moment, because his phone's hitting here at this time, this image is at this time, and it's at the location where the remains were found.
Detective Lee intercepted Smith at the Anchorage airport, returning from a trip with his wife.
Mr. Smith, I'm Detective Lee, the Anchorage Police Department. I just want to show you my badge, my ID, so you know you're talking. This is Detective Bell, my partner. We have some matters we wanted to clear up with you and talk to you today, so I appreciate you coming up here with these guys and talking to me.
Okay.
So you have the right to remain silent. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with you while you're being questioned. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Smith tells me that afternoon the police caught him off guard.
I just flown all the way from DC.
Right.
And you've obviously flown from lower 48. You know what it feels like now.
Yeah.
I flew 4 time zones across a 10-hour flight.
Right.
When I landed, when they stopped me, I was already, in the legal terms of the words they use, is in a weakened state of mind.
When you're under investigation for serious crimes, you don't get to pick your,
I know.
your
I fully
period of
understand.
rest before an interrogation.
I just wanted to show you these pictures, see if they would help you kind of refresh. And then some of the
The
other.
detectives start small, without letting on how much they already know about the killer sitting in front of them.
Can you tell me what's in that photo?
There's somebody's feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your shoe. I mean, it looks like the shoes you're wearing right now.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. What's happening when that's?
What's happening is on this video, on these images, the person that's recording it is holding the recorder and is standing basically above this girl and strangling her.
Okay.
And so we need to talk about this. We need to get ahead of this, Mr. Smith.
I don't want to act stupid, but I don't remember anything.
Okay.
For an hour and a half, I said, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Over and over and over. In ad nauseum, I said that.
You're not saying that. You're saying that you can't remember.
I do not remember anything like this. Honestly. That looks like a Marriott card. That looks like my truck parked over there.
It is.
Piece by piece, detectives disclose photo evidence. Smith's hands, his stomach, Smith's truck, and license plate.
There's cameras out on the highway at the way station, so there's no doubt about it that you were out there.
Yeah.
No doubt about it that you were out there.
Look, I don't remember anything else. Really, I'm sorry.
Then, about 2 hours in, Smith starts to crack.
Look, this sounds very serious. No matter what, I'm going to be in deep. So, okay, I'll tell you what I remember. The next day at work, I saw something dripping out the back of my truck. And I was like, what the hell? And I opened up, and there was somebody there underneath. So there was a blue, like a tarp at the back of my truck. And the back flap doesn't really lock. I've actually put a padlock on now since then. And I saw somebody, and I was like, what the hell? What must I do? What must I do? And during the one night, I thought, well, I've got to get rid of this. I can't. And I drove out, and I did. I went and dumped it. So yeah, I did dump, but yeah.
What was in the back of my truck was not Kathleen Henry.
You're saying that you didn't keep the body in your truck for 2 days and then dump her on the side of the road as you recounted to police?
Well, when I said to the police the body, it's because the police had told me that there was a body in the back of my truck. I did not know what was in the back of my truck. There was something.
You told them that you looked under the sheet and could tell it was a body. You told them that.
It was not a body. It was. I've seen a YouTube once of a bear cub that was skinned, and it looked, in my mind, X-ray vision through that, that's what it could have been, or it was a mannequin or like a sex doll or something. It smells.
Are you somebody who's incapable of telling the truth, Brian?
The problem is when I speak the truth, people don't believe me.
I think Brian Stephen Smith is a person that I'd say he's a sociopath. You know, if you looked at his life, he would just look like your normal everyday. I go to work, I come home, this is my wife, we go on vacations, and I play with drones and like to shoot guns for my hobbies. I wouldn't say split personality, but he was definitely somebody that knowingly was trying to, live two different types of lifestyles.
For police, the double life of Brian Stephen Smith now comes into sharp focus.
Do you have any other Facebook accounts that aren't just Brian Smith?
Oh, yeah, sure. I've got one called Bradley Phillips. Bradley's a real... He's like my alter ego. He's racist. He can make racist jokes and stuff like that.
Smith's alter ego offers police a new strategy.
Do you think good Brian wanted bad Brian to get caught? That's why somebody made it so easy for us?
They urge good Brian to confess to what bad Brian has done.
Right now, good Brian, I'm assuming, is who we have here. What do you feel right now about this woman?
Well, she's a pretty girl. And if she ended up like that, that's such a waste.
So, knowing...
Several hours in, Smith seems to sense the net tightening around him.
Well, I'm sure in the back of my mind I knew that I was involved there somewhere. It's stupid to believe that someone else killed someone and put them in the back of your truck.
You knew in the back of the head, the side of your head, front of your head, you knew you had killed somebody.
Yeah. I can tell you for a straight fact, I did not plan to do this.
Okay.
I've done it. I admit I've done that. I'll sign a piece of paper, yes, I did it. I know I did it.
Yeah. Before we do that...
With Smith's full-throated confession in hand, the detectives think they're done.
Down there first. They're with you. Just have a seat. We'll have somebody get somebody. Okay.
And then Smith drops the biggest bomb of the case.
Are you guys in a rush to go home?
Are we in a rush?
Yeah.
You want to talk some more?
We're not in a rush. We got
all night.
I picked up a very drunk girl. My wife was gone. She was away for the weekend. I had to go home. And I shot her. Are you guys in a rush to go home?
Are we in a rush?
Yeah.
You want to talk some more?
We're not in a rush. We got
all night.
5 hours into a police interrogation, Brian Stephen Smith had already confessed to the murder of Kathleen Henry.
If I'm going to burn on the electric chair for one, I might as well do it for two.
Then, Smith volunteered details of a second murder, and police realize they've caught a serial killer.
I shot this girl and then I went and dumped her out on that little side road going towards Butte when you turn off the highway.
This is how you recounted it to the police. Your wife was away, you were drinking. You hit the streets, as in your words you were known to do. You went to get some liquor and you spotted her.
She wanted booze, I knew that. She was drunk. She had a half a bottle of R&R on her there. And she was really drunk. She was slurring it. And I picked her up and I said, hey, you want some warm food and a warm place to sleep tonight?
You bring her home. You were afraid, you tell the police, that she was going to leave her odor in the home and your wife would detect it. So you told her to take a shower.
She was smelling. I knew she was homeless then. You know, she was stinking, and I was getting upset. And I said to her, go take a shower. You know, because now there's smell in the house. You know, and she wouldn't do it. She kept saying no.
He said, I clearly remember this. And again, I'm not lying to you. I don't remember. I can't visualize the girl. But when I went to the garage and I got my pistol and I said to her, go to the shower, and she wouldn't.
And I just did that. And
While she was on the couch?
yeah, I just shot it.
The evidence lined up perfectly with Smith's account. A human skull had been found 6 months earlier at the site Smith named, pierced by a bullet. Police would later find an SD card at Smith's home with a video of a woman lying naked on the floor. Forensics identified the victim as Veronica Abowchuk, another Alaska Native woman who disappeared from the streets of Anchorage.
Veronica was my best friend, and I loved the hell out of her. I knew her daughters, you know. They wasn't working girls. They were just women that had drinking problems, you know.
For Valerie Kassler, who uncovered evidence of Smith's hotel room murder, this second case hit even closer to home.
I remember the last time I talked to her. She said she was going to the liquor store, she's gonna get a bottle. And she had to go meet up with somebody. That must have been him, because that was the last time I ever saw her.
Smith's photo evidence and confession left virtually no doubt about his guilt. But today, Smith is trying to sell me a story that sounds nothing like the one he admitted to police.
Tell me what happened that night that you brought Veronica Abowchuk to your house.
The person that I shot was a fictitious event. It was not Veronica. Veronica, if that lady was Veronica, that woman walked out of my house, Alicia and her got in the vehicle and they drove away.
Well, then that wasn't Veronica, because the person that you murdered in your home, whose forensics lines up with Veronica Abowchuk, right? She didn't walk out of your home.
That was Alicia Youngblood. That wasn't Veronica.
Smith now recants his detailed confession to the Abowchuk murder, and he's trying to persuade me that his confession was all based on fictional role play with his former mistress, Alicia Youngblood.
The story I told them was a story that Alicia and I had made up about driving around, you meet someone and take them home, they make you angry, and you shoot them. I had told Alicia before.
You're saying that was a made-up story?
Yes.
Did you make up the part about defiling her corpse after you killed her?
Oh no, that was Alicia and myself's story.
You told the police that after murdering her, you sexually defiled her body by sticking your fingers, your hand inside of her. It sounds very much like paraphilia. Do you know that term? Paraphilia? Characterized by abnormal sexual desires, typically involving extreme or dangerous activities, sometimes intense and persistent interest in inflicting sexual violence or torture on a living person or corpse.
I don't like hurting people.
You don't?
No.
And you're telling me now that what you told the police is false, that you did not murder Veronica Abowchuk?
No, you must remember that interrogation was done under duress.
Well, all interrogations are arguably done under duress, but there was nothing unfair about it. And in fact, you could have stopped talking at any point. And instead, you volunteer a completely different story about an earlier crime.
I was in a weakened state of mind. It made sense to me there that I need to cover all my tracks. Alicia might have told them that story, and I don't tell them and they think I'm lying.
In fact, Alicia Youngblood had told police a story, in secret, on a tip line 1 year earlier.
The first time that I talked to Miss Youngblood, she was nervous. You could tell that talking to her on the phone.
She said Smith had showed her a video of a dead woman.
He's going in her, and then he'd draw his hand out, and he'd hold in the GoPro, and then he'd wipe his hands on her leg.
She loved this Brian Smith, but now she did not love him anymore after seeing this video. she was very adamant that she thought this video was real.
The pictures are her breast, and he's grabbing them so hard that the blood is pooling.
Youngblood tried to goad Smith into sharing evidence so police could arrest him.
Y'all don't know what I'm doing to get this information. I'm doing all kinds of crazy sexual acts with him to get this information out of him and having to pretend to like it.
She took this fantasy stories, these make-believe stories of ours, and she took it and she started bringing in real people's names. And I said to her, no.
Smith was cautious not to give Youngblood any proof, and police soon dropped the case.
I can't do this anymore. He's getting more wild.
Alicia Youngblood left Alaska. She never got the chance to testify against Smith.
We were informed that she had passed away in Oklahoma. It was most likely she took her own life.
The next phase of the case is the opening statements.
It wasn't until 3 years later, in February 2024, Smith would take center stage in a horror show of his own design.
After this trial, you will all carry the burden of knowing. The burden of knowing that Brian Smith lived, worked, walked among us, mingling and targeting the most vulnerable among us.
Smith's hour in the limelight was just beginning.
Let's bring the jury in. Mr. Statement, call your first witness.
My name is Christy Grimaldi.
How are you related to this case? Why are you here today?
Veronica Abouchuk is my mother. I'm her oldest daughter.
In February 2024, the trial for the murders of Veronica Abouchuk and Kathleen Henry began.
In October 2019, I was contacted by family to meet with a detective, and looking back at that, I was in complete denial or holding on to any hope. I remember thinking, wow, they found her, maybe she's somewhere. And it's just in awe that I believed that,
Smith appeared calm as witness after witness laid out evidence against him. But the smoking gun was the evidence Smith produced himself.
Those videos depict a woman that we now know to be Kathleen Henry being strangled, tortured, and killed. When we show those videos, they're going to be broadcast on Nat TV facing this way so that members of the general public don't see them.
Police say you're the man in the video. What do you say?
No, it's not me.
I needed a way to push past Smith's denial. If he wouldn't admit to the crimes, could I get him to describe the killer?
Let me describe to you what the man in the video, the killer, did, and ask you to profile him for me.
Well, I didn't want to watch him ever at all, but they forced me to at the trial.
My name is Brendan Lee, last name L-E. So in this video, it's going to start out and you're going to see Kathleen Henry on the floor.
There's at one point blood coming from both sides of her mouth while the killer is sexually molesting her. What did you think when you saw that?
He wasn't sexually molesting her. He was poking his fingers on her boob. Okay?
Is that not sexual molestation in your mind?
It depends on the woman. It depends on the situation.
Well, obviously the situation was non-consensual. She's laying there dying. He's telling her he's killing her.
Yeah.
He stands on top of her stomach at one point. He laughs maniacally. What did you make of that?
I don't remember him laughing.
Even as he downplays the cruelty captured on video, Smith offers clues about the man behind the camera.
Did it seem to you that the killer was enjoying himself?
No. The guy sounded frustrated.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Are you still alive?
I'm not so tired.
The guy said that she must hurry up. You know, she must die, she must hurry up.
People need to cooperate. People need to know when they're being serial killers.
The person sounded like he had lost control.
Like he'd lost control. Interesting.
Yeah.
So that it was unplanned, maybe spontaneous?
No, from the wording the guy used, it sounds like he was documenting something, so it was planned.
As you can notice, the tongue is like swollen. That eye is swollen as well.
Why was he documenting?
Yeah.
Why would somebody do that?
Well, they're obviously making money out of it, as far as I know. Yeah.
Could he have been doing that to watch it back and get thrills from it?
I don't know, he probably could have. If you find him, you can ask him that.
The killer is giggling and laughing. Do you remember that?
Probably the ugliest part was where he had his foot on her throat.
What kind of man could do that?
A nasty person.
She's making horrific sounds with her dying breaths. Do you remember those sounds?
Well, that was the first noises that came out when the first video played. They showed the girl trying to breathe.
Yeah.
And that's, I do not like that.
Can you describe them for me and how they made you feel?
I didn't like hearing it. I don't like to hear that stuff.
So he has the throat. He has the string I've got. And I'm going to pull the string quickly, okay?
He's strangling her with a green string, straddling over her, right? Remember that? Berating her, fondling her. I'm trying to make a movie, you stupid blood-sucking.
And it sounds like he's doing that for an audience. He's making a movie. He's definitely making a movie.
I'm trying to make a movie here, you stupid whole bitch.
Weeks after I met Smith, I finally got access to the murder video itself. I can now see what Smith meant by the killer making a movie.
For all my fans out there, hit the like button, please. Just take it, swallow it. Let's do a nibble shot while we at here. Do like an angle, like an action shot.
In Smith's twisted mind, he's a film director, and this atrocity is his blockbuster movie.
You live, you die. You live, you die. Sadly, in my movies, everyone dies. I get the Oscar, bitch.
Right. Search for resume secretary Arnold Captain's active tonight.
Please be seated.
In the end, Smith's movie did meet its audience.
Let's bring the jury in for this investigation.
12 men and women, and they quickly delivered a verdict.
Mr. Smith, would you please rise? I will read the form, the verdicts. We, the jury, find the defendant Brian Stephen Smith guilty of murder in the first degree as charged in count 1.
Guilty for the murder and sexual assault of Kathleen Henry and Veronica Abowchuk. His sentence? 226 years in prison.
I can tell you as a professional journalist, the evidence against you is insurmountable. You're not getting over it. Isn't there a part of you, you're still a young man, isn't there a part of you that just wants to unload, unburden this whole thing and talk truthfully about what actually happened?
You're glad you're not going to be able to hurt anybody else?
Yeah. But I was hoping that it would have just been that one. I was hoping that anger in my system would have been out. You know, I don't like to know that I've done that to someone. I don't like that.
It's been 10 years since Brian Stephen Smith first left South Africa for a new adventure on the Alaskan frontier.
At one point, you told the police that Alaska is the perfect place to murder someone.
Yes, the people come here because they antisocial, and if you look at the distances between places, yeah, you could just go dump a body just 5 minutes out of town.
Murder is the third leading cause of death among Native American women. Smith killed 2 of these vulnerable women, at least 2 that we know of.
Did you engage in any sexual violence with Native South African women?
No.
He told me one of his victims was as young as 15, where he's from. I think 15 was the youngest.
Okay.
But on the other hand, we don't know. We do not know, really.
The South African police say they're looking into you now. Any idea what that might be about?
Okay. Again, right in the beginning, Alicia and myself were telling stories, and the first stories I told her were about South Africa.
More stories.
Yeah.
If I can find any poetic justice in this tragic story, it's this. Smith landed behind bars thanks to a woman who lived on the streets with his victims.
What do you think would have happened without that video? Had you not found it and brought it
They'd
forward?
probably still be investigating, and he still probably would be a free man, hunting and killing women. And there'd probably be more bodies than what there was.
When you heard the verdict, what did you think?
That was on my birthday.
What a birthday present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kassler remained on the front lines from the moment she turned over the smoking gun SD card.
Those images that you saw, timing and all of that aside, have those stayed with you?
In my head?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted them to go home.
And what do you mean by that when you say you wanted them to go home?
I wanted their parents, their family, to be able to mourn and, properly, instead of burying an empty box.
Smith tells me he now plans to file an appeal, and I end the interview with one of my own.
You're going to live with this story, this defense that you've concocted in your mind that no one believes, Brian. You must know that no one believes the alibi, no one believes that you're not the man in the video. I mean, again, there's a mountain of forensic evidence against you. Are you going to just live with this?
There is no DNA evidence. There's no evidence proving that anyone was in my truck. The only evidence in my truck is the evidence of my alibi. So
I have 5 pages of quotes from your own lips, Brian, full of admissions and confessions.
Yes.
And acknowledgments and appreciation for the police and self-awareness that you've gone too far and now you're in deep.
Yes, that is non-confrontational de-escalation.
I don't think anybody would consider that de-escalation. That sounds like a guilty man who's coming clean.
In the end, Brian Smith's double life culminated in a single fate: a life sentence in an Alaskan prison.
I got no one to talk to now.
What's that?
I've got no one to talk to now, so none of my friends will ever.
Well,
this is my fault. I've dug my own grave here. I did this to myself. I can't blame anybody else,